Alright, I made a decision for the sake of my health and my blood pressure. From now on, I'm only going to watch the second half of our games, because, yeah, the first half always pisses me off to the point where I feel like I'm probably going to die early if I keep on. Don't worry, I'm just kidding. Unless. What's up, guys, and welcome to the Blues and Stripes. So another terrible first half performance followed up by a great turnaround in the second half and a win. I'm only half kidding when I say in the intro that I'm thinking about only watching the second half, because it feels like the only time where we're actually turning on, we're actually doing anything. Feels like Rosenior sets us up very poorly in the first half, but he adjusts very well in the second half. And on the one hand, that is frustrating that we can't just set up well in the first half. But on the other hand, once he does start setting us up well in the first half, it gives me hope that we'll start putting in some really good performances on the whole of the match instead of just one half. But let's talk about all the goals. First two for West Ham, both just terrible defending. The first one is a great ball by Bowen. It's one of those, it's tough for the keeper because the striker's making a run in on it. He can't tell whether to go to it or whether to wait for the contact. It makes no contact and it bends in at that far post. It's a shot/cross that Willian was really good at when he was here for us. And so I do give Bowen a lot of credit for that. However, nobody closed him down. Garnacho, I know he's not the most defensive winger, but he's on Bowen, and he just sort of lets him go. And then the second one is just, again, a lack of defending. Hato completely turned off, ball over the top. Garnacho, again, not tracking his runner, so it gets slipped in behind. Ton of space for Wan-Bissaka. Cuts it across. Somerville makes a run in off of Gusto's backside, who's completely unaware once again for about the 20th time this season, and it's an easy 2-0. And once again, I'm going into halftime absolutely livid because it was just so easy. And some of it was the way we were set up. I think we're seeing again that these types of teams that like to sit in deep and hit us quick on the counter, in those matches, playing with Caicedo and Fernandez with one of the fullbacks inverting into the midfield, I don't think it works in these matches. Because we've seen it twice now, once at Brentford and now here, where the opposition wingers really do affect that style of play. Because against Brentford, I thought they kept James and Cucurella pushed back, which meant that Caicedo was basically all alone in the middle of the pitch, and he was trying to do all of it himself, and it was easy to play around him. Today, what we saw was Hato and then Gusto were both still stepping in there, but then that gave so much space for the wings to go and take advantage of that space out wide. So I think it's something that Rosenior needs to look at, is trying to adjust our starting lineup whenever we know it's going to be a team that's going to sit deep and hit us on the counter. I think we've got to see Caicedo and Santos in there. So that way the midfield is still very strong and we're invulnerable to the counter, but then also it means our fullbacks can stay back and actually focus on the wings that are going to be hitting us with pace in behind. And nothing against Fernandez. I thought he had a great game today, but I don't think he's suited to that type of system. And I think we saw that again. Second half, what I thought helped us a bit is we did drop Fernandez a little bit deeper. I think also West Ham did start to sit back quite a bit, trying to sit on that 2-goal lead, which has been said quite a few times. The 2-0 is one of the most dangerous leads to have, and it's true. But I think having João Pedro in there, Palmer was also coming in from the wing, it allowed Fernandez to be in there in the midfield as well alongside Caicedo. So it cut off any sort of counterattacking opportunity through the middle, but also allowed our fullbacks to stay back and keep their wings from getting in behind us with the ball over the top. Plus, I do think a couple of the changes he made did help us because there were some players that needed to be off the pitch. But yeah, looking at the second half, once again, it was a great turnaround. João Pedro instantly came in and made a huge impact. Outside of just the goal, you could tell we were starting to keep a lot more possession in their final third, in and around the box instead of just out wide where there's a ton of space, but we couldn't do anything with it because their fullbacks both had answers for our wings today. So the best opportunity we're going to have is trying to move it through the middle, but we didn't have enough in there. All we had was Palmer, and anytime he got on it, there was somebody right on top of him, and he didn't have a lot of time to move the ball. You bring João Pedro in, now all of a sudden we've got two players in there that can interconnect, provide some creativity, and also João Pedro's movement does provide a real headache for the defense because he goes up top, he just drops back in, he's all over the place, and so defenders are getting moved around, which then also opens up space for other players. So that was a huge sub. Also getting off Garnacho, who was giving us absolutely nothing today, was very big, and ultimately getting Badiashile off, I think, helped shore up the defense a little bit more. I still have concerns about Fofana, but between the two, Fofana is a better defender than Badiashile. And I think we had moments of that today where we saw he's not good enough. And I think we've all known that. But then the James sub as well, I think provided a little bit more quality because Gusto was getting in a ton of space down this right side, but had no quality in the final third. Ironically, the only thing that him and Delap did well today was the build up for the second goal. He did well to win the header. Delap did well to be in the way for when whatever defender tried to head it out, ended up heading it off of him and off the crossbar. That was the only time Gusto and Delap were useful today. So once James came in on the right side, I'll talk about him a little bit more in detail in a minute, but he provided a lot more quality on the ball with all that space that he was getting out there. And that's where we looked the most dangerous in the second half. So again, Rosenior showing he can make adjustments in the second half. And this is the big difference between him and Maresca. Maybe Maresca sets us up a bit better in the first half, but also he would have been here for over a year and a half. So I would hope he would know how to set up this team better. So I do forgive Rosenior because, again, he's not been here that long. This is, his 7th game? So he's going to make some mistakes there. But what he does, what he adapts to, that's where I'm really judging him right now. And so far, he's doing a great job. I mean, on this run, we've won 5 in a row now. United Strand should probably come be a Chelsea fan so he can finally cut his hair. But 5 in a row where, honestly, we have not looked good in the first half in most of these matches. But second half, we come out and we're firing. We look dangerous. We're creating chance after chance. We're scoring goals. And a lot of that comes down to he's making tactical adjustments. He's bringing on players when he needs to. He's bringing off players when he needs to. And that's something I don't think Maresca ever did. So it's early days still. I'm not saying Rosenior is 100% going to turn things around for us and we're suddenly going to be champions of every competition with him. But at least from what I'm seeing so far, that adaptability is winning us matches. And yeah, it's not always going to work out that way. Some matches we're going to go 2 down in the first half, and even with the changes he makes, even if we become more dangerous, the other team is just going to be good enough to keep us out. Sometimes that's going to be the case. But at the very least, these matches against the lower teams that do look susceptible defensively, he's finding ways to break down those defenses in the second half and win us these matches that typically are the banana skins, typically are the ones where we do drop 2 points. And I think it's a great feeling to have. We're never down and out. Under Maresca, I think it got to a point where if we were tied going into the second half, if we were tied going into the last 15 minutes, I think a lot of us started to feel like it was going to end in a draw or they were going to get a late winner. Now under Rosenior, it kind of feels like we're more likely to go get the winner. And again, still early days, so I'm not saying this is going to continue, but for now, it's a great feeling to have, and I'm happy with it. Another thing I do want to praise before we get into individuals, I think the mentality as well of the team is really high at the moment. There are issues with some of the play. Personally, my biggest criticism at the moment is this team does not seem to want to challenge in the air. There have been several moments in the last matches where there's a ball up in the air 50-50, and I don't feel like we're very aggressive in going to win it where every other team pretty much is. We have a couple of players that are. I think Cucurella's goal shows he's one of the players that do want to win every single ball no matter where it is. Caicedo has that mentality as well. But there are some, I look at Palmer, I look at Fernandez, I look at Neto. Our defense at times between Badiashile, Chalobah, and Fofana, there are times when they're more so concerned about waiting for the ball to drop, and the other team is ready to win the ball as soon as they can. And so it leads to they're up in the air while our players are down here, kind of cowering away from it. Or you get the moments whenever they're very clearly looking at the player instead of at the ball, nudging into them, and half the time that's a foul. Because today there were several moments where we kept losing out in the midfield because of moments like that. So it's something that I really do think we need to work on, because I really do think most teams are going to be more aggressive than us in the air, and that's going to hurt us going forward. But the mentality overall, the willingness to fight back into a match, the willingness to push ourselves in the latter stages of a match, that's something that's really been seen under Rosenior so far. I don't know if that's him that's responsible or if the players have just bucked up their ideals since Maresca left, but it's a big part of why I do think we see the second half turnaround is because the players do lift themselves. Even if they're a goal down, even if they're 2 goals down, they want to fight back. They want to try to push themselves to go get a winner. And I think that's why we're seeing the best of us right now. I think that's why we're on a winning streak. But let's go ahead and get into individuals. So Sanchez, 2 goals conceded today. First one, I can't really blame him for. Like I said, it's a tough one to deal with. He's caught in 2 minds between playing the deflection off the striker or going to get it as it curls into the back post. It's always a tough one. Second one maybe could do a bit better. I think he's unsighted because Caicedo is right there in front of him. So I think it comes at him quickly and he's not able to see it in time. He does get a slight hand to it, but not enough. So it's one that it's hard to blame him for, but maybe could do a little bit better. But outside of that, he made some great saves again today that did keep us in the match. So it's another match where I thought he played well. Starting off strong in defense with Gusto. I'm kind of sick of seeing him at this point. I wanted to give him a chance because I know Maresca wasn't utilizing him well. Using him as an inverted fullback is not what he's good at. I was hoping maybe Rosenior would bring out the best of him again, kind of what we saw under Poch. But ultimately what we're seeing is just he's not good enough. I mean, to be fair, he was inverting in the first half, but second half he was more of an overlapping right back. Palmer was cutting inside, he was given the space out there, and he just does mostly nothing with it. Again, outside of the one header that went across and set up Cucurella's goal, he didn't do anything positive for us. He gives the ball away a few times today that put us in some dangerous spots. Defensively, once again, runner coming in from behind, no awareness that he's there. So there are just too many gaps in his game. Also, I do want to say the amount of times that he's wasted chances for us because he thinks he's a better striker than he is. I mean, I've talked about it before in a previous review. There are some moments whenever he lines up from outside the box. He scored 2 goals this season. One was a tap in, the other one was an actual decent goal in the Everton match. And the Everton match is the only one where I've seen him play like he's an actual Premier League level player. But before that tap-in goal that he had against Wolves, he had not scored a single goal. And he would always line up from outside the box as if he was one of the best ball strikers ever. I just remember getting so frustrated with him. And so today we have another moment where ball's dropping at the top of the box. Neto is right there, and Neto's lining up for a volley. Now, Neto's not been in the best run of form, so he probably wouldn't have struck it well either. But Gusto's right there on his weaker foot, on his left foot, lining up as if he's going to have the volley. What are you doing? I don't understand why he thinks he's such a phenomenal striker that he should be taking this shot away from Neto. It just blew my mind because then both of them end up backing out of the shot and then a West Ham player steps in and wins it. Which there were a few times where 2 Chelsea players, neither of them would go for a ball and then a West Ham player would go get it. It's another issue, again, talking about the 50-50s in the air. But yeah, for Gusto, I don't know what it is, but he just thinks he's a wonderful ball striker, thinks he's so good at taking on these shots, and he always wastes these chances, and it just adds to the frustration I already have from him from all of the defensive errors that he makes. So personally, I said it after the Crystal Palace match, I didn't want to see him again because of the doing this, which sets up for Palace's goal. And then he puts in a stinker against Napoli, puts in a stinker today against West Ham. I don't know why he should still be here, to be perfectly honest. And when you've got a talented youngster like Achimpong, who is getting minutes at right back, I don't know where that's gone. But the fact now that Gusto has a terrible cameo against Palace, plays terribly against Napoli, and he's still starting here over Achimpong, once again, I've got questions. We trust the youth. Hands off Achimpong. Why isn't he playing then? If you're not going to play him at center back over Badiashile for some reason, he should be starting over Gusto at right back. And yet he's not. And honestly, as much as we do want to push our fullbacks forward, he's a great fullback to have to drop in to be the third center back whenever Cucurella or Hato go up the pitch. So I just don't understand what's going on here, and it's really frustrating to watch somebody like Gusto constantly show why he doesn't need to be in the team and then still get picked over Achimpong. Chalobah had some good moments, had some bad moments. It was very mixed from him today. There's one moment in particular, and it does raise questions for me about how the defense is being coached at the moment, because he nearly set up their winner in the second half. Because ball comes in, and he essentially traps it for, might have been Todibo, who then blasted off the post, thankfully. But it does make me wonder, are they being told to try to keep possession no matter what as defenders? Because that's a moment where cross comes in, don't try to settle it, don't try to play it, just get it out. So for him to settle it right to Todibo, who sets up a great shot, I don't understand that mindset. Again, I'm somebody who played defense, and I was always of the mindset, if there's a striker or any sort of attacker near me, I'm getting it out. I'm not looking to try to play around. I'm not looking to try to keep possession because they're running up on top of me. And I know if I give them any opportunity to win it back, that's on me if I set up a goal for them. So I just don't understand why some of our defenders, that's what it feels like they're being told is, don't get it out. Don't look to clear it whenever you can. Look to try to trap it, look to try to see if we can keep the ball whenever we win a cross or anything like that. And we've seen several times now, Garnacho against Napoli, that one where he tried to keep possession, lost it, nearly gave away a goal late on to Lukaku. It does feel like the players are being told not to just boot it out, and I think that's a huge mistake. But with that being said, I mean, Chalobah still did have some moments where he was effective defensively, so not going to dig him out too much for that. Badiashile had a rough first half. On the ball, too slow again. Defensively, he's getting bullied. Several moments where he's out of position because he's not reading the play very well. He's just not a good defender. He should not be in this team. And hopefully Anselmino or Sarr, or both, whoever's coming back, hopefully they're going to be good. But in my opinion, unless we go get a more experienced defender, it's going to be a terrible transfer window. I'll talk about it a little bit more when the transfer window actually closes. But yeah, for me personally, it just makes no sense at all that we're not trying to get a better defender that can take the place of somebody like a Badiashile. Then Hato on the left side, honestly, I thought it was a little unfortunate that he was taken off at halftime. He wasn't great. He definitely had his issues, but I think some of it was down to he didn't look comfortable inverting into the center mid. Again, I do think that left him a little bit exposed on the left side. Garnacho was also not tracking back very well, so he was left in a lot of 2v1 situations. So I thought it was a little unfortunate for him to be subbed off, but then again, Cucurella came on and played phenomenally. So it's kind of one of those, Hato wasn't terrible today. I think he was a bit unlucky, but then Cucurella comes on and plays so well, it makes sense why he was taken off, unfortunately. Into the midfield, Caicedo, probably going through his roughest patch at the moment. He's still turning in some decent performances, but compared to the type of midfielder we're used to seeing him be, I think he is a little bit behind the pace right now. There are several moments where I'm just used to seeing him nip in, win the ball, no problem, and now he's starting to get turned a little too easily. He's starting to dive into challenges a little too much. Now on the ball, he's still got some quality, he still moves it pretty well, but yeah, the defensive side of things is what we're used to seeing him be top. Again, Conte-esque is how a lot of his performances were described. We've not seen that much from him since the red card against Arsenal, so I don't know if maybe he's trying to hold himself back a little bit more, but personally I don't think he should. I think he's a very effective midfielder, and I think a lot of the narrative surrounding him has been ridiculous, but unfortunately it does seem like it's affecting his overall performances. Fernandes, I thought once again played pretty well in there. Defensively is where he is the most culpable, but overall he was fine. Won some good challenges, and then of course gets the winner, which is fantastic, but he is providing a lot of energy in there, which is not something I'm used to seeing from him. So it has been very nice to see him so present in the midfield, where typically it kind of felt like he would just make a run upfield and then we wouldn't really see him track back. He is doing both sides. He is playing more like a box-to-box midfielder instead of just a box crashing, and that's all he really has. Getting more forward, Gittins didn't really do much before he got injured. Unfortunate for him. Garnacho was a joke today. Didn't do anything on the ball. And granted, Wan-Bissaka is a good defender. He's one that is difficult to dribble past. It's not something that happens very often. But even so, there are several moments when Garnacho gets on the ball, and it does feel like he has a couple of options early, but instead he decides to hold it and let Wan-Bissaka come up to him, and now all of a sudden it's a 1v1, and he's not good in those situations against most defenders. So going up against a defender who excels in 1v1 defending, it's always a recipe for disaster. And so ultimately, he was probably our most open player in the first half, and that ended up hurting us because he never did anything with it. But also his tracking back was absolutely terrible, like I said before, and this is one of the reasons why I wasn't a fan of when we got him. I didn't expect him to help out on the other side of the ball at all. And I do gotta say, I've tried to be fair to him because I didn't want to let my, not hatred of him, but my dislike of who he is as a person, how he acts on the pitch, I didn't want to let that affect my opinions of how he's performing. So I've tried to be fair to him this season. Again, there was the one match where I thought he was playing very well. I think it was whoever we played after the Arsenal match, because I remember saying the Arsenal match I wasn't happy with his overall performances, but he scored 2 great goals. And then the next match, I think it was Brentford, he didn't score a goal, but he was working his butt off. So I thought he was unlucky in that match. But this match, I mean, he doesn't score. He doesn't work hard on the other side of the ball. This is the Garnacho that I didn't want to see. So again, I'm trying to be fair to him, but yeah, today was awful. And this is one of the performances that does reignite that disdain that I have of him. Palmer in the center, I thought first half he was marked out of the match for a lot of it. He did get on the ball a few times and maybe could have done a bit more, but again, that rustiness is still there. But second half, once João Pedro came in, provided another option, I thought that's where he had a bit more time to start to create. And while he doesn't score or assist today, I think he was making us more dangerous as the half wore on, which was good to see. Hopefully that will continue on as he continues to get more game time. And then Delap up top, not really much from him today outside of him being there for it to get headed off of his head onto the bar for Cucurella's goal. But he just provided nothing for us. And I've gotten to a point where if it's not João Pedro up top, I'm not excited. And granted, he's young, so yeah, he can grow, he can get better, but from what I'm seeing right now, he doesn't give us anything up top. Whereas João Pedro is at the top of his game right now. To not play him would be a crime, so yeah, for Delap, it's unfortunate, because I think he has some good potential, but I don't think he's going to be effective at a big club. I do think he needs to be at a club where essentially he is just the man to send in behind. But if he is at a club where they need to use him for his feet, he's not going to be effective. And that's typically what we do with our strikers. We want him to be involved in the play. So yeah, for me, this is just another nail in his coffin of his Chelsea career. As far as the subs that came on, Neto came on for Gittins in the first half. I definitely felt like there was more energy about his play today, which was good. He had a really nice moment late on that should have been a goal from Palmer. But for the most part, he just provided that work rate that I'm used to seeing from him. He was tracking back, winning the ball, causing issues for the defense. Even on Wan-Bissaka's side, he was giving him some runs to actually wear him down a bit. So overall, I thought it was a much better performance from the last 2 games. At halftime, there's a triple sub. The 2 that really changed the match, João Pedro and Cucurella. Outside of just the goals, they both brought a lot of energy. João Pedro gave us some more creativity in the middle, like I already said, and it just shows what having him up there can do. It just helps so much with our attack, because suddenly now we're creating chance after chance, whereas in the first half, I think it was like 80% possession and we created maybe 2 chances. So yeah, he needs to be playing from now on. Obviously, I know we can't play him in every single match because then he'll just wear out. But if he's fit and if he can play 2 matches in a row, we need to play him 2 matches in a row because what we saw from Delap today was just not acceptable. And Cucurella, as I said before, he's one of the few players that I think is aggressive enough to attack a 50-50 ball, no matter where it is. And I think it shows with that goal. His willingness to get in there, diving header. I don't think that's something that we see from a lot of our players. So it's great to see. Also, he has kind of been in a rough run of form too, so it was nice to see him step up and put in a really solid shift today. Fofana also came on at halftime, and I think he did provide some more stability that Badiashile was not giving us in the first half. That's not to say he didn't have some of his usual flaws. I mean, there was one moment where he steps out and allows, I think it was Füllkrug to get him behind him. And it's just a split moment decision where he thinks he can get to the ball and he can't. And so now all of a sudden the striker's in behind and he's in a ton of space. But even after that, Gusto goes to the ball, manages to put pressure on him so he doesn't have a free run at goal. Fofana steps back into the middle. Somerville makes a run in behind Fofana, and Fofana has no idea where he is. And thankfully, Füllkrug, I think it was him, puts it right at Sanchez so we don't have to worry about Somerville. But it's those moments, again, where I look at Fofana and go, you're just ball watching. This guy just makes a simple run in behind you and you've lost all awareness of where he is. And if Füllkrug does decide to put in a cross instead of a shot, all he's got to do is just nip in front of you and you're not going to be aware of it. It's going to be super easy for him to score exactly like Højlund did against Napoli. So it's something that he's got to work on. It's something that, again, I think the defensive coaches should be working on in practice because most of our defense is terrible at that. But yeah, Fofana has been guilty of it more often than not, unfortunately. And then the final sub, James on for Gusto. As I said before, I think James provides more on the ball than Gusto does, so he provided a lot more danger in the final third. Some good crosses that was putting some pressure on their defense. But I think that's about it for this one. As I said, good to get the win, but man, I wish those first half performances would step up a little bit more so I don't have to leave these matches feeling like my heart has just gone through the ringer, because my family does have a history of having heart issues, so I don't know if Chelsea's going to be the best club to support for me right now. But I'm still going to be here through thick or thin. But that'll be it for me. I do have something new here at the end, so with all that being said, cue the outro. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for more Chelsea previews, reviews, and talks. Also, let me know what your thoughts are down below, whether you agree, disagree, or just want to call me stupid. Let me know, we can talk about it, discuss all that good stuff. Also, if you want to hear me talk about TV shows and movies that I like, check out my channel Mason the Brock Henderson, where I upload reviews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. As well as if you want to watch me play through video games and try to make it entertaining for you, I have a Let's Play channel, Meso Hendo Plays, where I upload every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Also, if you do want to help me grow this channel, I do have a Patreon where all the funds and donations will go directly into improving this channel's quality. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace out, and up the Chels.